Hey everybody, welcome back to another SanTube video. Like always, I'm VJ. Today we're going to be talking about perfect prints. There's a lot of things that are involved in that. Today we're basically just going to be talking about getting to know your printer. This is something people overlook all the time. The best way I can explain it to you is when you drive your vehicle, you can drive it for about 3-4 years, no problem. But if you get it serviced and maintain it right, it'll give you better results. Same thing goes with your printer. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of adjustments that need to be made. Most people tend to blame their slicing settings on their prints. That does play a major factor in it, but your printer is also one of the main things that we need to look at, make adjustments, and do things like that. So, before we get started, just a few things. One, for those of you that are new to the channel or new to watching this, this channel basically is about 3D printing, everything related to it, from product reviews to all the way, mainly about how to and troubleshooting and things like that. So those are just some of the things the channel is about. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do so. And the second thing I want to talk about is I want to give out thanks. Thanks to you guys, especially for helping this channel grow so fast. I was not expecting that, and thank you for your support, guys. I really appreciate it. And also my Facebook group, SanTube 3D Printing. That thing is growing like crazy. There's like 40 people per day that are signing up. Why, I really don't know, but it's a great group, guys. I think that's probably the best support group out there on Facebook right now. Only reason, it's not the amount of people, but it's the way people are being treated. If you're new and you ask the same question over and over and over, everybody gives you an answer. And if somebody doesn't like what you're asking, they just keep it to themselves. So it's purity at its top form, I guess you can say. I don't know. But if you want to check that out, there'll be some links down below later on down the line. And the last thing I want to do before we get started is I want to thank Fiber Arts Boston Resource and Innovation Center. They were my very first patrons on my Patreon page, so thank you guys for supporting me and finding what I do value. And yeah, so that's basically it. Just thank you so much. I didn't think I was going to get somebody this fast, and I did. So thank you for doing that. I won't let you guys down. I'll try my best to do that. And with that said, let's talk about perfect prints. Before I get started, there is no such thing as a universal perfect print settings. Okay, what that means is what works for me may not work for you. My settings will give you either good prints, decent quality, or okay prints, or sometimes even give you really bad prints. You don't know that. It's all based, there's multiple factors in that. So what I decided to do is go over a lot of things that I wish somebody would have told me in the beginning when I started off. So we're going to highlight some of the things that we're going to talk about today and down the line. And also, if you guys are just here to watch this video in 20 minutes trying to figure out how to get perfect prints, that's not doable. There's no video out there that will show you how to get perfect prints within like an hour or so. So I'm going to go through steps on what you need to do to achieve that goal. Some of the things we're going to be talking about, just to kind of give you an overview. First, today we're going to be talking about how to get to know your printer. Basically, if your printer's not running right, you're not going to get good quality prints. So we're going to be talking about X and Y belt tensioning. We're going to talk about lubricating the Z-axis. We're going to talk about Z couplers. We're going to talk about centric nut adjustments. And later on down the line, we're going to be talking about bed leveling, temperature tower testing, lubricating the Z-rod like I mentioned, calibrating your extruder or your E-step, cure settings, retraction settings, and many, many other things, guys. So with that said, let's go ahead and start on that. So let me move this around a little bit so you guys can get a better view of what I am talking about. All right. So the printer we're going to be working with today is going to be the CR10. Okay. Sorry if I keep looking over here. This is where my computer's at. So I know some of you are posting comments, and this way I can respond back to you. So the printer, like I said, we're going to be working with is the Creality CR10 for now, just because this is my go-to printer. This is my very first printer that I bought, so kind of holds like a special spot for me in my art. As you can see, I'm already working on a few things to do adjustments and things like that. So the very first thing that we're going to talk about is we need to adjust the belts, okay? The easiest way to do that is go and take an Allen key, loosen this up, okay? Once you loosen this up, like so, once you do that, you'll notice there's two bolts on the side. Now your printer might be different, guys, but on this one, it's just these two bolts here and two on this side. And once you loosen these, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and make sure this belt, see that noise? Sounds like a, I don't know, a violin string or a bass string. You want that noise. And to adjust this, you're basically just gonna go and grab it once you loosen everything here and pull it out towards you, keeping this as straight as possible. And once you get it tight enough, you're just gonna go ahead and tighten that up right there. So once you do that, your Y belt is good to go. KTTJ Designs, yes, it is a 300 by 300 and 400 on the Z-axis. That is correct. So once you do that, the next thing you want to work on is go and work on your X-axis, which is right here. Okay, let me get this moved back a little for you guys. There we go. Much better. All right, so next, what we're gonna work on is we're gonna do the X-axis belt, okay? To do that, it's very simple. Same as the Y. What you wanna do is you'll notice that there's two bolts here. 1, 2. You wanna loosen these up. Once you loosen that, you want to pull as tight as you can by hand, nothing else, and tighten this back up here, making sure that the belt is not rubbing on the sides or anything along those lines. And just by moving the belt, I can move the X-axis so I know my X belt is tensioned correctly. Okay, after that, what you want to do, and this is for you guys that have the wobble when you first originally bought your CR10. This is one way to fix it as well. You'll notice the top two wheels are smooth. There's nothing to tighten down here. But down here you'll have a centric nut. And you take a wrench. Just go and raise this up a little. And once you get that raised, you will notice that right down here, this is a centric nut, okay? So to adjust this to make sure that your wheels are tight, so what I mean by that is if you can move it with your hand, if you move the wheel and it moves with your hand, then you're good. But for those of you that don't have that motion, got a lot of dust in here, look at that. These are some of the other things you want to take care of. So you just take your wrench right down here and you turn it. So if you notice now, because I turned it, got a little bit of wobble and nothing happens. But if I take the same thing and turn it the other way, I'm right back on track. So I know that this is mounted to that with no issues whatsoever. Now, why is this important? Because if you don't have this straight and tight, when you're printing, it's gonna go up and down, messing up your prints. So it won't give you the best quality prints that you can get. Okay? There we go. All right. So we got the belts tension, and we made sure that your hot end is mounted on correctly with pressure to the rail. What you guys might want to do is over a period of time, as you can see here, because of the grease, you'll get dust, or in my case, it looks like filament, leftover filament, as you can see. Right there. Just make sure you get all that out. And this is something people always neglect. They always think the printer is not the problem because they adjusted it the first time. Believe it or not, printers make a huge difference as far as adjustments and making sure that they're running right. So once you got that done, what you want to do is you want to make sure that your X-axis rail is actually mounted to the gantry perfectly. Okay, and perfectly what I mean is you'll notice that right now it's not too level, but some people can move this. It's very loose. It just goes up and down. Mine doesn't. It moves the whole frame. The reason for that is on this side you'll have some, let me see, where is it at? You have some bolts in the back. Let me turn this around. There's some bolts right here. Just make sure that these are tightened. Don't over tighten them. Just make sure they're tight enough to where they don't give you any kind of issues. So on this side, those are the main things that you need to worry about. And also on this side, this is where your main problem will be. This is where everything becomes loose. So what we want to do is use my Allen wrenches. Okay, so what you want to do here is the same concept as what we did on the hot end. You'll notice it's smooth here and it's smooth here. So we want to make sure is these wheels are tight, so they're grabbing onto here, okay? But before you tighten these wheels, you have to tighten this wheel. And this wheel on the inside, right here, is the one that has the centric nut. So you would need that wrench again, and you just pop it into place and tighten this up. And what that does is it pulls it closer to the rail, making it tighter. And once you get that tight, then you adjust these wheels. And how do you know if it worked? By turning this, you'll notice everything's going. Now it won't go up, but you can bring it down. And that's something a lot of people don't check for, and I learned that the hard way, that affects your prints as well. So you might get a tighter print here, but on this side you might have a little bit of a gap. That's something I had along the line. Do I use oil for any of the parts on the CR10? No, not oil itself, but let me show you guys what I actually use. I use a special type of lubricant. See if I can find it. There it is. This is what I use. And this is what I was actually going to talk about later down the line with the Z-axis. This is Teflon non-stick dry film lubricant. Okay, so what this is, basically, the problem that most of us get is like when it comes from China, wherever it's made or wherever your 3D printer is made, they grease the heck out of everything. So if you touch your Z-Rod, you'll get all kinds of greasy filament on your hands. But with this one, what I like about it and is once you apply it, it's kind of dry. It's not greasy, but it still lubricates everything perfectly. I do this maybe every 6 months. I lubricate whatever I need to lubricate, and it doesn't leave a greasy feel. And just like grease attracts dust. I don't know if you guys know that. That's why if you notice under your wheels, where the hot end is, or the heated bed is, underneath the 6 wheels, they always collect that dust. Have you guys noticed that? The reason for that is because the grease and the dust mix together, and that's what gives you stuff like this. So the cool thing about this is, from my experience, there is nothing that attracts the dust to it because it's dry, so it doesn't stick too well to the lubricated part, which I also like. So this is what I use here, and you can get this on Amazon, I believe, for like $8 to $10. Last time I bought it. The only thing with this, guys, if you notice that there's a residue at the bottom, so you got to make sure you shake it really well before you use it. And all you do is just apply it, which we will, to the Z-axis in just a little bit, okay? So continuing where we left off, you got to make sure your access rails are on tight, and this will help you in the long run, trust me. So we got the belts tensioned, we got the rail mounted, your hot end is mounted, it's not wobbly, so everything's good to go there, okay? And after that, what we're gonna do, this might be a little hard to turn today, but I think I'm gonna have to turn it this way. Okay, so you guys will notice down here that, good day to you too. If you notice right here, I actually took 2 of the wheels off out of the 6. The reason is one of the engineering people that I talked to actually said it doesn't make a difference if you have 4 or 6. They basically will work the same. So on this one, I took 2 of these off. Now that I just did that, if you want to, you can do that as well. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But there we go. But that would be your call. So I keep the other 2 as spare just in case, because your wheels eventually will get not threaded, but they will wear out. You'll see signs of wear and tear on them, and you'll have to eventually buy it. This is maybe 2 years or a year and a half down the line. But this is what I was talking about. This is where the grease meets the dust, and this is what you get. So for all you newcomers, when you see this, don't freak out. This is a very normal thing. So what that is basically is just the grease and dirt mixing together, so you're okay on that. Okay, so to adjust your bed, to make sure, you just grab a wheel and you turn it. If your bed turns, great. See right here, it's a little loose. This one moves it. Okay, so to adjust these 2 wheels is basically one centric nut. It's going to be on one side. Mine are on top. So what you do is, the reason these become loose is over a period of time your bed's constantly moving up and down, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And due to vibration, it loosens everything. And that's why we need to adjust these things, because without adjusting it, your prints aren't going to come out the way you want. So one side will be smooth where you can't tighten it or tension it at all. The other side will have the centric nut, and you'll know it because it'll have like a low nut where you can insert this. So the one I was having problems with was this one. So you just put it on top here. Now if you notice, I can go ahead and move it. See that? Before it wasn't doing that. So this is the very first thing you guys should check when you get your printer right off the bat anyways. This is something that's very, very important to do. So once you get all that checked, just go and clean all this off. And I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to make this live stream go on for hours and hours and hours. So I'm just going to kind of go over the main parts with you guys. So once you get this part done, this is the only thing you need to worry about down here. And we got the belts, everything else tensioned, and we are good to go. So what do we need to do now? Let's take a look. Let me turn this around. Next, we're gonna work on the lead screw or the Z-rod, okay? Now, if you have dual Z-rods, it's the same concept. If you have a single, it's the same thing. I hope you guys can see that. Hope you guys can see and hear me pretty well. I'm actually streaming from my phone today. What I normally use is kaput. It's out of order, so I hope everything is good. You can hear me fine. Let's see. Get this out the way. Okay. All right. So now the next part is just my way of doing things. It is what I do. You don't necessarily have to do it this way, but there's always a question I notice periodically throughout on most of the groups that I belong to. And they say, does the Z-rod need to go all the way down on the coupler? No, it does not. From what I understand and what I read when I first started out is this coupler is supposed to be able to flex a little bit. If you stick the Z-rod or the lead screw all the way down to the bottom as far as it can go, that prevents it from doing that. So what you want to do is go and grab your Allen key. Don't loosen the bottom. You don't need to do that. All you need to do is loosen the top. And you'll see one, I guess on the CR10 is just one. And you just take the Allen key in there, turn left to loosen it up, take your Z-rod out, and put it back in place. But make sure you don't go all the way down, just enough to where you can tighten this. And again, this is my way of doing it. Some people might disagree, some people have their own ways of doing it, but that's what I do, that's what I read, that's what I was told. So based on that, I don't stick my Z-rod or lead screw all the way down, okay? All right, another thing, I should have started from the top actually, but I started from the bottom. So let's go back to the top. If you notice up here, the housing for the Z-rod that keeps it straight up here, mine's actually loose. Let me show you that. Okay, so if you notice, mine's actually a little loose right there. So what you need to do is, again, grab your little Allen key, pop it in place. As soon as I find it, make sure this is leveled and just tighten it up. And now you'll notice that it does not move whatsoever, okay? So check for that, make sure everything is straight, because that's what keeps your rod from wobbling around at the top. So that's something that is very important. And so you guys can see better. All right, and then working your way down, of course we're gonna lubricate it in just a little bit. This part right here, I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's this little gold piece. I call it the support for the Z-rod, or the holder for the Z-rod. This actually mounts to where your filament feeder gears are at and the motor's at, the extruder motor. Again, this is something I do. It's really up to you guys if you want to follow what I'm saying or not on this one. But from what I was told and what I've researched, this is not supposed to be super tight. I know a lot of people, when they go and adjust everything, they go in there and just crank it. Mine's actually just a little, well, it's about hand tight, just where I feel it tension. Okay, the reason for that is this is supposed to keep the rod in place. Right down here, this is going up and down. So if you make it really stiff, and let's say there's a slight bend in your Z-rod, if you look at my video on, I believe it was the Ender 2, I had this problem. When I put the x-axis on, this was so tight it was at an angle so it wouldn't go up and down freely. So what I had to do is I had to loosen this, and then after that it actually went up and down. So again, my opinion, contrary to popular belief, these should be just hand tight, where it still has a little bit of a play so it can move and adjust to where it needs to go. Okay, so and after I did that, I never had a problem with my axis going up and down on any of my printers. I had to actually adjust it, except for this one, I had to adjust it on the CR10S, and I had to do it on the Ender 2 as well. So you guys can use your own judgment on that, I guess. So that was the other thing that you needed to do. And now that we have the lead screw lined up perfectly, everything's good. On this one, I did not actually take the Z-rod out, like I said, but you just loosen it. You can take this out, or don't just push it. Make sure you turn it, and once it gets to the top, turn it back to where it goes down enough to where it can catch it. So it shouldn't sit all the way down on that one. So with that said, one thing you do also want to check is you got a piece of filament, okay, and you can just feed it right through. Okay, once you do that, let me show you guys this. Once you do that, you want to make sure, because sometimes due to vibration this actually goes down. Okay, so you want to make sure that your filament, as it's being fed through, is being grabbed by the teeth here on the gear of the filament feeder. So it looks like mine is good to go. As you can see, it's right about there where it grabs it. And if your teeth start wearing out right here, guys, I notice a lot of people say things like you're under extruding or things along those lines. That could be one of your problems too. If your filament's not being grabbed to be pushed through, you might get under extruding on that part too. So one quick fix, and these are cheap. You can get them for like $3-4 for, I don't know, like a 5-pack on Banggood or GearBest. But if you want to actually have it to you in like 2 days, go to Amazon and you can get them for like $9. And an easy quick fix for a temporary fix would be, loosen the screw that's holding it in place and just drop it down a little bit, so the part of the teeth that's worn out, if you push it, like if this is where the filament goes and you loosen it and you drop it, you got brand new teeth up here that will grab the filament better. But that is a temporary fix. You will need to replace it. I have a video out on that if you guys want to check it out. You can go ahead and do that as well. So get this out. So just make sure your filament gear teeth are working perfectly fine. There's no issues with that. What else do we need to go over today? And the last thing, as far as just getting to know your printer, making sure everything's tuned, this is something I do every 6 months, or as need basis. But normally every 6 months I will tighten everything, tension everything, depending on the amount of hours that I've been printing, and lately that's been a lot. So now to lubricate your Z-rod, what you do, okay, and I don't have the machine turned on right now, so I'm not gonna go in full detail on how to do this, but I do have a maintenance video out there that I did actually show how I did this. But you would just do a few drops, you know, all the places, and then they have G codes for Z-axis where you can raise it up and down without manually doing it, or you can go to your control box and go to prepare, move axis, and then pick the 0.1, and then you can move it up and down. So once you apply the lubricant, okay, and you can go heavy on this one, it really doesn't matter. If you have any axes, just get like some kind of a cotton type thing to dab it off. Just don't overdo it. But Once you apply it, just make sure you run the Z-Rod up and down maybe about 3-4 times, just so as it's going up, it'll evenly distribute everything everywhere. And that should be it. And you should be good to go. So we got the belts tension. Let me make sure I got everything off my checklist here. Yeah, we got the centric nuts at the bottom of the bed. We got the centric nuts on the hot end, on the x-axis. We check the coupler. We check the filament feeder gear to make sure it's still grabbing the filament. We made sure the lead screw Z-rod is good to go. And that's basically it. Once you do this and you know your printer is running right, you won't have any more issues as far as your printer. You'll know that it's mainly in your settings or your filament. Speaking of filament, that's another thing you guys need to do. Make sure, guys, anytime you use a brand of filament that's new to you, do a temperature tower test. Believe it or not, you could have the world's perfect settings. If your temperature is not on point, your prints won't come out that great. I've had prints where they were, I mean, literally, excuse my language, but shitty. But then all of a sudden, all I did is adjust the temperature by like 6 degrees and with the exact same settings, and everything came out perfect. So make sure you check that and make sure everything's good to go. Make sure your belts aren't rubbing. Also check your belts for wear and tear. Eventually you might have to change your belts if it's rubbing on something, but that's entirely up to you. So that's why you need to get to know your printer. And if you guys notice, on my CR10, I bought this roughly about a year and a half ago, and till this day I have not put any mods on it. My printer, it runs great. Before you guys start putting modifications on your printer, get to know your printer, see what it's capable of, and I'm actually happy with the prints it comes out. I mean, I got the stock fan on still. I got the only thing I think I changed is I replaced the nozzle because there was a clog on it, but besides that, everything's exactly the same. I did change the filament gear out though, but it is a replacement for the CR10. So this is the one that it came with, but the motors, everything is exactly the same. I haven't changed anything on it. So besides that, just make sure all your connections are good to go. So once your printer is ready to go, next thing you want to do is test, which will be in my next video. You want to do a temperature tower test, and I'll walk you through on that one detailed. You can download it from Thingiverse, and there's a G code for it. But I will also show you how to manually change the G code or create a new G code so the temperature changes as the layers get higher and higher and higher. So this, just by doing this, some of the problems that you're gonna solve right off the bat is you'll get like Z ghosting. You'll see visible layers. These are some of the things that will help you with that. Okay, and these are just things I learned the hard way. I just wish somebody would have taken the time out to told me. But you gotta make sure your printer's running right, because if it's not, then nothing else really will make too much sense. Because even if you have the perfect settings, like I said, your printer needs to be on point. So this is just a basic introduction, guys, to getting to know your printer, the journey to getting perfect prints on step one. I'm gonna make another video as far as filament testing, temperature testing, and then we're gonna do E-step calibration. We're gonna do a whole bunch of things. So it's gonna be about a 3-parter in my opinion. But after everything is said and done, we should be able to get about 90% good quality prints. Because as of right now, these things need to be done to get better quality prints. So with that said, right now, I'll leave it up to you guys. If you have any questions or comments you guys want, I'll be more than happy to answer it for you. If there's something that you've been running into trouble with, or if you need help with, this is the time to do it. Because I don't really get a lot of chances to interact with you guys. So that's the reason I decided to go live stream today instead of just posting the video that I already made, which I'm not gonna post. I'm actually going to just leave this video on there on the first step of getting perfect prints. Can just a few other things to talk about um, down the line would be, again, get to know your printer, get to know what type of filament you're using, what's the perfect temperature for it. Just make sure you check your retraction settings. Uh, these are the little things that a lot of people don't talk about. Retraction settings very important because that's where you get all that stringing. And just to let you guys know, if you do get a lot of stringing, you can actually get rid of that very easily. If you take your model and just take a heat gun or a hair dryer and just kind of wave it around, it tends to melt all that string off, giving you a very smooth um, print. We're also going to be talking about bed leveling. That is something very easy to do, but I will show you guys on Thingiverse how to download an actual template and how to do it. In the beginning, you guys all do it with paper. Eventually, you'll get to a point where I'm at right now. By no means am I a professional, but you can eyeball it. If you do it enough, you guys, you'll be able to eyeball your leveling process on your bed, and that just saves you so much time and paper, not to mention. Um, but when you do level, the number one mistake people make that I made in the beginning is I would level my printer just cold. Don't do that. Heat up your nozzle. What I do is I take the filament out. Okay, I completely drain the filament out. I heat up the bed to about 60. I heat up the nozzle to about 200, and then I level my bed. The reason is because heat tends to expand. So if you level your bed and you're right on point, when the heat kicks in, it might throw it off by a little bit, and that's where you'll get where your prints are being grinded by the nozzle. So little things like that play a huge role in the way your print quality comes out. So uh, yeah, that's basically it. So with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, go and leave it down below. You know, I get back to every single one of you guys as soon as I possibly can. And thank you guys for watching and the support that you guys have given this channel. It's just amazing. If you haven't checked out the Facebook group, go ahead and do so. There's a lot of good content on there, a lot of good people. There's a variety of printers on there. It's not just Creality. It's the TiVo, the a what is that printer called? There's the AlphaWise U20 on there. There's the Ender and the Anycubic. All that stuff's on there. So hey, Tube77, how you doing, buddy? So yeah, those are just a few things, guys. And like I said, unless you guys have some questions that I can help you out with, I will call it quits on this one. I'll go and give it about 5 minutes. I know there's somewhat of a delay on here, so just if you have any questions or comments, this is the time to ask me. I'm here. I can help you right now. But let me know what you guys think of this video, and let me know what kind of printers you guys use. Does everybody on the Creality wagon like me? But I mean, me personally, I just have this as my favorite printer because it's my very first printer. Even if it gives me the shittiest prints in the world, this is still my favorite printer. Why? I don't know. It's just my baby. It's my first one. So I do like it. Maybe you could try... I got those on my... Yes, Jessica, I agree with you. The Creality CR10 tends to be a little bit louder. You can change up the fans on that, and she said there's some vibration plates or dampeners for the CR10 that you can buy. I've been thinking about doing upgrades to this just because people always tell me, why do you have a stock CR10? And I tell them I like it. But I'm thinking about doing a print on the stock CR10 and then upgraded things like dampeners, adding dual Z lead screws, changing out the fan, things like that, and seeing if it makes a difference to kind of prove a point that the CR10 printer or any printer basically is this puts out good quality. The thing is, we just don't play with it enough before adding modifications to it. So get to know your printer. Do a bunch of prints, especially failed prints, because that's what you learn from. And let me see. I like your suggestion about loosening the nuts, the brass. Yes, Jessica, that holding this part right here. I've ran into trouble. I've ran into many troubles on these, and the reason is because once you make them tight, they don't tend to give you any kind of flex. So once you loosen this just a little, now you can't have it loose. You gotta make sure it's still hand tight. But once you do that, it glides, it's smooth, everything's good to go. So sometimes this part might go up and this might stay, or this might stay, and cause some kind of issues on that. So let me see. Getting 3D printing soon. Any tips before I get started on 3D printing? Tube 77, bro. There's so many tips. Depends on what printer you're getting. Again, get to know your printer first before you start adding or buying modifications. Try to figure out what works best for you, and just go from there, man. Honestly, just make sure your printer's on point. After that, your next step is to get to know the filament that you're going to be using. Test the filament, even if you have to go through like a quarter of it, just wasting it. Because once you find those perfect temperature setting, retraction settings, all kinds of stuff like that, next time you buy the same spool, you don't have to sit there and waste time trying to test everything. And what I do, guys, I actually write everything down in a book, believe it or not. Anytime I use a new filament, like if I use Hatchbox, I'll write down what the temperature for what color is. So next time I use that, I just do a test print, like a 30-minute Marvin test print, just to check it. And then, or if you use Tianci, or if you use, I don't know, there's multiple filaments out there. Whatever you use, test it first. Get to know your printer, test it. Failed prints is where you learn. Okay, successful prints you don't learn jack shit. Oh, sorry, excuse my language. Successful prints you don't really learn anything, but failed prints is where the knowledge comes from, guys. So try to look for problems in the beginning when you first start. Don't get too excited if you get great print quality right off the bat, because eventually what's gonna happen is, I'm pretty sure most of you seen this on your Facebook group, right? Where everybody's getting great prints for about 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, with the same exact settings, their print goes down the drain. Why is that? Because there's something wrong with the printer. Something from the vibration or just being used has loosened something where it's not catching on. And that's what I'm trying to say. This is a very important part, and a lot of people don't mention this. Like, just adjusting your printer, like maintaining it, just like your car. You don't just drive around without getting oil changed, rotating your tires. Yes, it still works, but do you want it to just work, or do you want it to actually give you a smoother ride or a better print quality at the end? So that was the whole point of this video today. Let me see. I'm getting a 3D printer soon. Any tips before I get started? I have the TiVo Tornado, and I actually just changed out the power supply on there, just and I do like it. I like the TiVo brand very much. I think it's just basically a copy of this. The only thing for those of you that have the TiVo Tornado and you're just starting out, um, I believe it's the travel acceleration and the uh, geez, I forgot what the other one is. I think it's like at 3,000 and then 5,000, or 4,000 and 5,000. Turn that down, because what works on the CR10, I notice on the TiVo, it tends to move too fast. Like, you can't handle it. The speed's way too high, and therefore causing your prints to not print properly. If I can find out exactly what the name of that was, I'll be more than happy to tell you guys. Let's see. Let's take a look at Cura. Or what slicing software Well, it depends on what slicing software you guys are using. I still use Cura. I think it's great. It's free. There's no need for me to pay $150 for simplified 3D, but I've heard a lot of people say they get great results out of it. But the only thing I would change on the TiVo, like I said, would be it's called the print acceleration and the travel acceleration. By default, they're set to 500 and 5,000. On the TiVo, I would change it to about, believe it or not, 300, and the travel, I would turn it down to 3,000. Yes, that takes a little bit longer to print, but it gives you better print quality down the line. And Tube 77, the Ender 3 Buddy, is a great printer. I actually have one, and I love it. I think Creality makes good brand printers for the price. They are going up in their price lately, but the quality that it does print out is actually pretty good, and I am very happy with it. I think the only issue I had with the Ender 3 was I noticed that I had to level the bed more often. Why, I don't know. And the springs, let me look at it. And I believe the springs that they used, no, the springs are the exact same. But I did like the layout. The only other thing I didn't like about it was how the LCD screen is exposed in the back. So I did print a cover for that. Because I don't know if you guys know about electronics, but you're not supposed to get body oil on it because our body produces a certain type of oil, and it's just not good for it. It's not gonna short it out or anything, but it's just not good for it. Um, but yeah, those two printers are great, and I do like it. And you just gotta make sure you adjust the settings to what you're printing. And fast. I know a lot of printers, companies out there are advertising the my printer can print this fast and this and that. But honestly, the slower you print, I know it takes longer, but the better quality prints you get. That's something I learned. No problem, bud. That's something I learned after like 6 months in. The slower I go, the better it is. So so yeah, that's just depends on your printer and what you're using. The only thing I wish I could do to the CR10, I was actually thinking about it the other day. The Anycubic i3 Mega has this feature where they have dual limiter switches for the, I guess, Z axis, but it's really on the X, you know what I mean, as it comes down. I wish I could add one on this side with another lead screw. That would be kind of cool because this way I won't have to adjust my X axis. It'll always, even if it's like this, once it comes down, it'll straighten itself out. So I wish Creality would come up with something like that. But besides that, now I time to time do get printers from GearBest. I just got one called the AlphaWise U20. I've ran into a few problems with it, and I fixed them. It was basically a firmware update. So I'm going to make a video about that for those of you guys that are interested in that. And so far, I'm pretty impressed with it, but I'll have a video out on that soon. But my main goal right now is to make a couple of videos on how to get as close to perfect settings as you can. What's your question about the Ultra Base? Now, me personally, Tube 77, I like it. It sticks the prints to the bed really well, and as soon as it cools down, I mean, that sucker, you can literally push it and it pops right off. I do love it. I was actually thinking about getting them for my CR10 on Amazon, but they're like $30 a piece. So for $30, I still rather just print on my glass, because most of the stuff that I do here, most of the parts I buy, some of the printers that I buy here, I use my own money, and I buy everything myself. Like, I don't get funded or sponsored or anything like that. YouTube is not my full-time job. I can't afford that. So I make these videos on my off time, and everything that I do here is paid for by me. So I wish I could get them because I do like it. But printing on glass is also safe in a way. I made a video recently about failed prints and how to resume them. with glass, they tend to stick on the glass, so they don't fall right off. But the drawback to, I guess, the ultra base would be if you printed something for 4 days and it went about this high and then it failed on you. Once your bed cooled down, the sucker would pop right off. So you would have to remount it with tape or glue or something, and then find the right place, and then continue prints from there. Um, but yeah, no, that's about it. There, today was just a random live stream, guys. I was actually on my way to post a video, and then I realized, you know what, I don't get to interact with people that much, so hey, why not go ahead and do a live stream and just help people as I go. So if you guys have any more questions, I'll be here for another few minutes. If not, then we'll call it a night, because it's about 1:15 where I'm at. And I just came home from work and I decided to go ahead and take care of this. Sorry I didn't post a video last week. I've been super busy with work, but I finally got some time, and I thought I get on here and kind of just interact with you guys a little bit and go from there. So any other questions or comments you guys have? Because I'm here to help as much as I can at the moment. So tell me what you guys think about the printers that you have. What do you feel is the best printer out there right now? I know Creality is like the new hype, but there's a lot of other printers out there, in my opinion, that are just as good. But they cost a little bit more. Some cost a little bit less, but give you more trouble. But these guys have made a good name for themselves, and they're doing all right. I'm pretty satisfied with it. Do you know, what's the question here? What's the most important thing about 3D printing? Jesus, dude. Okay, the most important thing about 3D printing is learning from your mistakes. If you don't learn, you're never gonna get good at it. Something my teacher told me when I was in college, this was a while ago, is when we first start 3D printing, everybody gets failed prints, and the more failed prints you get, the more frustrated you get, and then you basically hit a point where you just don't want to print for a couple days. The best way I can explain it, your failed prints push you all the way to the bottom, but the bottom is where you start building up. Once you're at the bottom, you can only build up, and everything needs a good foundation. So if you learn from your mistakes, the foundation is what you've learned, and from there you can only build up. So I would definitely say learn from your mistakes. That would be the number one most important thing, in my opinion, because you can get help on printers all over the place on Facebook. If you look on YouTube on a channel called Chris's Basement, I have heard of Chris's Basement. He has a video on how to do dual lead screw on the C axis. Yes, I have actually ran across that video when I first started out. Unfortunately, I don't spend too much time on YouTube as much, which is weird because I got a YouTube channel, right? But I don't spend too much time searching things anymore, because I'm more hands-on, so I like to do things. I am thinking about getting dual lead screw for the CR10, and I have seen his, and he's very detailed. His video was really good. So Chris's Basement, I mean, if you watch it, man, you did a good job on that video. I really liked it. I'm thinking about putting one on here as well, because a lot of people have been asking me for it. I just haven't gone around to purchasing it, to be honest. Once it's here, I'll probably put it in, but I'll try to do just as good a job as he did. But he did a really good job, Jessica, on that dual lead screw. Sorry for the spelling mistakes. Software sometimes is wonderful. Yeah, no problem. That's all right. Sometimes I have little word mishaps as well. So where are you guys located, I'm assuming at this time, either most of you are either overseas or either in the West Coast area as far as time is concerned. I'm just kind of curious. If you're wondering, I'm in Texas, so that's where I'm at. Tube, me and you are on the same time zone there, buddy. I don't do too many live streams, guys. So, if moment of silence, I apologize for that. Um, the reason I don't do too many live streams is one, I need better equipment for it, and two, I'm trying really hard to put a filter on what I'm saying, because when I speak freely, I tend to not have a filter on my mouth. So, and I'm trying to be respectful to the 18 and under age that subscribes to my channel. So I hope I'm doing okay on that part. But yeah, there's a lot of things out there when it comes to 3D printing. You will never ever know everything. You will run into things and you'll have to research it. You will have to ask somebody. And the reason I started this channel, guys, you can go to any of my videos and ask any random question about anything, and I will answer it for you. Because when I first started, I was scared to ask questions because certain forums, man, they make you feel like a complete, dunce. Like, hey, you asking the same question the other guy did. Why don't you go in the file section and take a look? It's like, well, I didn't find this file section. I don't know how to use Facebook that well, or the group that well, whatever it might be. So that's why I started my own Facebook group. And the only two conditions there are one, don't advertise on my channel, and two, uh, don't ever put anybody down. That's the only two things I got. Yeah, I always have a huge pause waiting for comments to come in live streams. Yep. So one comment. Let me talk about something that somebody actually asked me the other day, which was kind of funny. They said, "How did you get into creating this channel?" Um, it was funny. I never intended to create a YouTube channel. I joined the CR10 group, and I noticed when I first got my printer, I had to watch 6 different videos to figure out how to put this printer together. Now I can do it with a blindfold on, but when I first started, I didn't know what a lead screw was. I didn't know the Z rod was the lead screw. I didn't know this was called a filament gear. I didn't know this was called a hot end. I didn't know any of that. So people would just tell you, "Oh yeah, take this bolt and do this and do that," and I had to watch 5 videos to put it together. And then one of the guys was having the same issue, so I basically took my printer apart and I shared a link with him on, the YouTube channel. I just created one because I didn't want him to know my personal information, which was kind of a whole different thing. But and then people just started watching it from there, and that's how the channel got started. People started asking for videos, and at first I didn't have time to make videos. I was like, why are these guys bothering me for? I don't want to make no damn videos. But then I started thinking, like, I need help when I started out. And I know a lot of people out there feel the same way, so let's go ahead and see what we can do. And that's why my videos are so long, so detailed. A lot of people that know what they're doing tend to get upset because they think I linger on. Um, Other people don't. I agree with what you said. Early learning about the printer that you own and to get understanding. Just from UK. Wow, that's one place I have not been to yet. Here we have some other suggestions. You could try upgrading the stepper motor drivers if that is an option to Yes, Jess, I am gonna actually down the line. I don't know when, but down the line I am going to upgrade most of the parts on here. And I will make like a 2 hour video on how to do everything in detail for all the new people that want to do the upgrades themselves. And everything you're suggesting to me right now, I have it on a list. I just gotta get around to purchasing it. My thing is, I usually come home, relax, and hang out with my family first, and then around 11 o'clock my time is when I get to work on my 3D printing stuff. So, but yes, it does dramatically improve the quality of the print. And there is something someone mentioned to me about the TiVo brand. It's like a little silencer chip that you put inside, or a smoother, I think it's called. I'm not really sure. I just found out about it like a couple days ago. And if you install it, from the difference I've seen in the quality of prints, it's like a huge difference. So I'm kind of do some research on that, and then maybe do an installation video for the TiVo on that, because I'm really interested to see how much of a difference it makes in the print quality. Maybe as another setting, you can try upgrading these type of order. How long? I don't know. The Bowden tube on the CR10, this is just the stock one. Like I said, I've never had any issues with it. I really don't know. I'm thinking maybe 12 inches, 14 inches maybe. Um, One thing you guys should know is the shorter the Bowden tube, the better performance you get. That's something I read somewhere, um, and a lot of people swear by it. So if your Bowden tube's a little bit shorter and you can get it to work, um, it does something where it improves the quality of the print. I don't know exactly what it does, but that is something I read somewhere. Don't hold me to it, but yeah. Oh, and speaking of Bowden tubes, clips, guys. Bowden tube clips, very very important. The way Bowden tubes work is when you try to, it's like those Chinese finger things. The more you pull, the tighter it gets. But when the more you push together, which is these two pieces here, it tends to pop off. So just be careful on that. So Bowden clips, very 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 important. Um, yeah. Okay. The thing I was talking about for the TiVo is called the TL Smoother. That's what it was, I think. And and I'm gonna try to put that on the TiVo. I'm gonna adjust everything on the printer, do a print, like a 12-hour print, and I'm gonna install that sucker and then do the same model, same settings, and just see if it makes a difference, or is it just hype? Because sometimes some of the things these people recommend, like I just don't get it. Um, if you have the money and you want to upgrade it, I totally understand. But again, get to know your printer first. If you don't know what your printer is capable of stock, you'll never know how the upgrades affect it. So it makes a big difference. So, but yeah, so that's about it, guys. I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night. Thank you all for tuning in today again. I know I said it earlier. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go and leave it down below. If you have questions, oh, we just got another question. Let me see what that is. I tried tail smoothers on my printer and I did not find that they make any difference. My printer really well, and I've adjusted the acceleration settings to get good quality prints. Yeah, that's. I mean, It sounds like you're doing everything right. You're getting to know your printer first. You know what it's capable of. You've tried something new, and you know that it really doesn't work for you. But there's other people that swear by it, and like I said, every printer is different. It's for the perfect example I can give you is if we use, let's say, a Hatchbox white PLA. For my printer, the perfect print temperature is 200. Let's just say. I can guarantee you on your printer it's not going to be 200. It's going to be something else. And the reason is because of the way your printer is laid out. And the different batch that you got. That might be, of course, another thing. If you upgraded your nozzle, if you didn't upgrade your nozzle, what type of nozzle you're using, how fast does it heat up, all that makes a huge difference. So that's why I say get to know your printer. That's like the number one thing you should do. Um, And I learned just from all the failed prints and just taking stuff apart and putting it back together. So, but yeah, so again, that's it, guys. Go ahead and leave your questions, comments down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll try to do more live stream videos for you guys so this way I can interact with you more. That's something I feel like I am missing out on. Um, all of you guys are subscribing to my channel and you're supporting me, but yet I'm never really interacting with you guys. So I'm gonna start trying to do that more this year and go from there. If you guys want to support the channel, this is entirely up to you. I'll put some links down below. I got a Patreon's page my buddy created for me. Bunch of other stuff. If you want to send me stuff, I have a website. Check that out. If you want to buy some stuff from like GearBest or Banggood, I got affiliate links. You get the same price. It's just I basically get like a percentage, and I use that to like buy the upgrades and everything that we talked about today. But you do not have to do it. Don't feel obligated to do it. Whatever you feel safer with, you do. Again, like I said, this is not my full-time job, so I do have a job, and I don't see myself being a YouTube income guy anytime soon. So I got some, dang, they messed. Let's see. I just heard a dog in the background. I'm just curious what kind of. I have a no, not a golden retriever. What am I talking about? I got a German Shepherd. She just turned a year, 1 year old, and so technically she's still considered a puppy. She is amazing, smart dog. I love her to death. The only thing is she tends to bark at night. She likes to be outside at night for some reason why, I don't know. She is an outside dog, but she's allowed in this room, and that's about it. But when we first got her, she actually had parvo, if for you dog owners, if you know what that is. And they said she wasn't going to make it, but we fought it out, and she was only like, I think 2 months old, and she survived. She made it through, and I think because of that, we have a better connection. So now in my house, I am surrounded by 4 females, being the only guy, but I love them all to death, including my dog, Destiny. That's her name. So yeah, so she's out there protecting my family. So I love her for that. But again, guys, good luck. I hope you learned something new from this video. I know now like just gibberish talking, but if you have any questions, comments, like I said, just leave it down below, and I'll get back to you. Join the Facebook group. Great set of people, man. I mean, they will help you out with whatever problem you got. No negative talk is tolerated, and I think they're just an amazing bunch of people. And for those of you, I noticed that a lot of you have been watching the videos but have not subscribed. Go ahead and do so. I mean, you never know. One of the videos you might learn something, or you might tell me and I'll learn something. So you never know, because I'm interested in learning from you guys as well. So so yeah, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Good night, and like always, good luck and happy printing.